The mean streets. Streets that have seen 1,000 souls passing. Streets where devils dance and angels fear to tread. Or something like that. Oh, Noir narration is harder than I thought. What? You have your detective heroes, and I have mine. It's not easy being a colorful character in this noir setting. For one thing, crosswalks are a pain when you can't make out the lights. I've been called in to investigate a crime scene. Apparently, the city's finest were done impersonating a siren, and we're at a loss. All right, Officer Ride Along. What are we looking at? Oh, yeah, I remember this. A week ago last Tuesday. There was this thing with a mayonnaise jar, one of those wholesale monstrosities, and then this 3-headed wildebeest, and then Princess Luna arrived, and, well... You know, you seem like a nice guy. You don't need to hear the rest. Point is, I'm not a zombie. It's elementary, dear Ride Along. You ever feel like one episode just served as setup for another? Like how Games Ponies Play was just there to set up for Rainbow Falls and Equestria games? Well, Canterlot Boutique can feel like setup for today's review, Rarity Investigates. Because we open up in the boutique once again, which is looking more diverse these days. Rarity is unveiling her latest works based on her favorite books. The Adventures of Shadow Spade.
Her stories are always full of mystery and suspense, and best of all, fabulous costumes!
And while one could argue that the costume aspect ties into her fashionista archetype, not sure Carl Jung ever labeled that particular category, I like this change for Rarity. It's something new and outside the norm. A book series she enjoys simply for the sake of enjoyment. Little things like that make these characters stand out and become more real. That's not to say this episode is completely positive for Rarity. It highlights one aspect of her personality that I don't enjoy.
But if there was any way you could squeeze in one more little delivery, I would be eternally grateful.
Here's my conundrum. I want to denounce Rarity for playing this guy as she has so many others. The show has a long history of Rarity flirting with guys to get her way, usually to the other's detriment. Yet there are multiple articles and studies that show that flirting can be an effective negotiating and business tactic. In an ideal world, such tactics wouldn't be needed, but we don't live in an ideal world. I can't insist that Rarity not take advantage of her charms. My real problem stems from this article quote. These types of scenarios involve a concern for oneself, a competitive motive, and a concern for your negotiating counterpart, a cooperative motive. Feminine charm helps balance these motives to reach mutually beneficial trade-offs, and to create and maintain positive relationships. I don't see the mutual benefit here. Rarity doesn't state that she's facing a deadline, but the delivery guy makes it clear that he's got a full schedule. Rather than accept the promise of a next-day delivery, Rarity pushes for preferential treatment without any consideration for his needs. That guy shouldn't have been so easily swayed, but Rarity is showing terrible selfishness and insincerity. To sum it up,
using feminine wiles to get what you want, trading on your looks? Read a book, sister. That passive-aggressive number went out long ago. Chicks like you give women a bad name.
You made me quote Batman and Robin, Rarity. That's on you. She'll get over it. As for you, Batgirl, I think there's at least one improvement we can make. There we go. I was always more a fan of the animated series. Plus, I realized that anything less than a full-body costume like in Ne'er-Do-Well makes little sense since a pony's coat, mane, and tail colors are so distinct.
I'm so pathetic!
The real focus starts when Rarity promises to join Rainbow Dash for a celebratory dinner. Convenient, as Rarity is already in Canterlot to oversee her new fashion line, and none of the other members of the main six are present. Yet after this brief opening, it's the last we'll see of Canterlot Boutique or Sassy Saddles. So I guess it's your turn for a journey into irrelevance. Bye-bye, so long, ta-ta! It's nothing personal, although I did think those expressions of yours were a little forced. I'm totally not reusing assets. Quiet, you! At the Wonderbolt party, we're introduced to our totally not a suspect character.
It's Wind Rider!
What? Too subtle? When Mystery on the Friendship Express aired, it presented several suspects and pulled the old switcheroo on the audience. Now, there were many issues with that episode, so I can't say it's a great mystery tale, but here the mystery is solved before it even begins. So let's get into the meat of this story, after we get some shipping fuel out of the way.
You'd be talking to me.
And the Soren Dash shippers do cheer. But gasp! Spitfire's mother has appeared, even though the Wonderbolt's captain received word that her mama was sick. Someone has sabotaged the Wonderbolt's performance.
Why would any pony want that?
Maybe, so they could take her spot.
Guilty until proven innocent, an ancient concept for this modern age.
Yeah, what he said. Now, fair is fair, most of the Wonderbolts haven't gotten to know Rainbow Dash personally, but I do hope that Fleetfoot, Soren, and, let's see here, Misty Fly are arguing on Rainbow's behalf. If saving their lives or standing up for moral character hasn't made an impression, then I've got plenty of reason to be worried about this team. More than usual, I mean.
Rainbow Dash, if you can prove that some pony else is behind Spitfire's disappearance before the start of the show, then you can still fly with us.
And the Soren Dash shippers doth jeer. But in steps Rarity to save the day and bring a certain style to the episode. That style being film noir, and you can tell that the show staff had a lot of fun with this. The black and white color scheme, background cameos by famous detectives, and the smooth jazz. What makes this fun is that Rarity brings her own flair. She has attention to detail, but is easily distracted. So when she snaps out of her noir roleplay, the screen snaps back to color and Tabitha St. Germain shows why she's such a fun voice actress.
In order to solve the mystery, we had to be focused, driven, 100% in the... Ooh!
One follicle find later, it's time to question the guards. Perhaps the worst guards in the entire series. Also, the most colorful. I guess it's funny to see guards outside the usual white and blue or gray and bluish-white color schemes. I mean, it's more visually interesting, but what looks more intimidating? This? Or this? There's a reason we stress uniformity in the armed forces. The visual cohesion reinforces group discipline. I mean, these guys know a thing or two about discipline, don't they? No way they'd succumb to a mayor's charms while in uniform.
Guessing that at times it can be rather boring.
It is. I've counted all 345 bolts in the ceiling tiles 293 times.
Well, at least Rarity's using her powers to save her friend now. I approve. Of her. The guards, however.
You're right. We don't get a lot of recognition for what we do.
I don't believe you!
Except for last night when some pony was nice enough to leave a cake for us. So we did take one little break when we ate that cake.
Wow. You could say they were deserting their post.
I hate you.
Ooh, speaking of our stallion soldiers, you used to be in the army.
Finish that sentence and I will twist you until you're sniffing your own butt.
How do you know I'm not into that? Your discomfort is nectar! I'm okay.
Alright, let me tell you something about the guards in MLP. A lot of people haven't noticed there's this really gross misunderstanding of the military across media, especially children's media. Many shows constantly get militaristic protocol wrong, in turn making us all look completely incompetent. Not only that, but soldiers are commonly portrayed as cold, emotionless robots or sociopathic jerks, both with a little bit of dumb jock on the side. Rarity is right, despite the national holidays we get, sometimes being in the military feels thankless, especially the amount of times I've been treated as less than a person just because of my job.
I'm just proving a point here. This is way too easy to accomplish.
Noted. You see, one of the big reasons I started Fob Equestria was because I wanted to let people know that we're more than what you see in fiction or mass media. We're capable of empathy. We laugh, we cry, we have dreams, hopes, aspirations, likes, and dislikes like any other person. Most of us are actually massive nerds. And you know what? Some of us actually like a little girl show about pastel horses. It might not sound like a big deal with this fandom being as large as it is. People are still surprised by me telling them this. I love Friendship is Magic. This show has been known to take common stereotypes and pitfalls of fiction and subvert them in very entertaining ways. So it actually really cheeses my onions that MLP still shows the typical lack of understanding of the military. The Wonderbolts are implied to be some sort of amazing first response team, what with all the references to the Blue Angels, military uniforms, and combat history. But even then, they get easily duped by a dumb lizard and then cower like children. Their leader has serious loyalty issues that makes me question how she became a captain in the first place, and as revealed later in this episode, Spitfire is very easily suckered. Oh yes, the Royal Guard. Okay, here's a question. Why do the Royal Guard need to exist? I know there's a lot of very powerful physical and magical disasters out there, but with the alarming frequency that they've been popping up, you'd think those who have sworn to protect and serve would pursue better means of combating them. The Guard has always been completely useless in a crisis, whether being slapped around silly by lightning, getting captured by changelings, or not having a contingency plan in case of missing princesses. They've rarely done anything helpful. In fact, shown here, they've actually contributed to the problem with severe duty negligence. The only times you get some character to military folk are when they're just trophy husbands that exist to invert the damsel in distress trope, or one-off gag characters that I don't know if the staff wants us to forget about or not. I'm not asking for the Royal Guard or the Wonderbolts to be perfect. That's not fair. I'm asking for them to be shown proactively contributing something or being at least decent at their job, because most of what we see is them being useless or them failing. People keep asking me if I would like an episode of MLP to center on the Royal Guard. Yeah! Do I trust the show to do it properly? No!
You want some chocolate?
Yes!
Yeah. The guards stink at their job. At least they gave Rarity a clue that could only have meaning to someone as cultured as she, so it's off to a very specific cake store with an even more specific suspect description.
She was wearing a trench coat, sunglasses, and a scarf around her head that covered most of her face. But I do remember she had a really deep, raspy voice.
Okay, credit where it's due. This scene made me doubt my original assumption about Wind Rider. For a moment I considered that Spitfire might have given herself the day off by faking a departure rather than any ill intent. Because with Wind Rider's size, build, and square snout, I didn't think he could be mistaken for a mare. But no.
That pony was none other than Wind Rider!
Despite this obvious outcome, I do enjoy rewatching this episode to see all the little hints they throw in. The stuff that doesn't seem to have an immediate impact on the story, but is a vital bit of information later on.
It's almost impossible to get stains out of silk.
And while even Rainbow is not on board with Rarity's accusation, she lays it all out. Of course, I'm sure that Wind Rider will vehemently deny any accusation.
Fine! You caught me! I did it!
Huh. I honestly thought he put more effort into that.
Sometimes you gotta play dirty to be the best.
Many a viewer has noted that Wind Rider shares the same fall from grace as Jingles from my Brave Star Fallen Idol review. And I want to thank people who made that connection. Instead of being proud that his record could inspire young flyers, Wind Rider tied his identity to the fame. It's another example of how fame can corrupt. And he's not the only one. The Wonderbolts themselves have had to be reminded time and again of what they're supposed to represent.
Wonderbolts look out for each other.
I don't believe you! Rainbow, meanwhile, is still the young idealist who gets what the Wonderbolts can be. Even now, when one of her personal heroes has let her down, she's pushing to be more. That includes going to retrieve Spitfire.
Well, you'll never make it in time.
Then there's no time to lose!
As witty catchphrases go, Rainbow, that wasn't your best. Let's talk for a moment about Rainbow, who has been the Watson to Rarity's Holmes. I can't fault her for being short on patience with Rarity's methods. After all, Rarity wasn't keeping her informed for fear of false hope. From Rainbow's perspective, this is Rarity role-playing as a detective with Rainbow's career on the line. She has the most to lose.
I don't have time for your quirks.
But we also get to see Rainbow's enthusiasm, her hero worship, and her tried and true loyalty shine. This episode presents a very rounded view for her. More than that, by being true to her values, Rainbow has now rooted out two Wonderbolts who might have been physically skilled, but their emphasis on glory over responsibility would have poisoned the group overall. Rainbow really is the best thing that could have happened to the team since their founding. Oh, come on!
For attempting to frame Rainbow Dash, I hereby strip you of your Wonderbolt status!
Hey there, muchacho. I know you're pretty sour over losing your legacy, but I think you got off easy. I mean, the ponies of this world are often too forgiving, and what you did was downright criminal. Fortunately, I have my own brand of justice, thanks to a friend.
Mind Crush!
Yeah.
And as we have the happy and stylized denouement, we get the best possible ending for all. Except Wind Rider. As a Rarity episode, this is really enjoyable. Much like The Fabulous Fashionista, it's big on style but also substance as we get to see both Rarity and Rainbow Dash at their best in different settings. It is frustrating that the guilty party is obvious even before the mystery begins, but the black and white setting, visual puns, and jazzy music help make the journey enjoyable. As far as I'm concerned, it's no mystery why this was a fun episode. Ah, I deduce that you're here to give me my comeuppance. Better tell you this, Princey Pooh, you'll never take me alive.
No! Let this happen. The Royal Guard finally get to do something.
They're gonna arrest me.
I'm surprisingly okay with that.
Well then, I suppose I'm left with one recourse.
What the hectopus?
If I gotta face justice, I might as well make it inconvenient.
You're trying to resist a bunch of unicorns. One spell and it's done.
Well then, go anti-magic gas.
Anti-magic what?
I'm Silver-Quill. Thanks for watching.